Discord. A place to unwind and hang out with your friends. Maybe play some video games and organize your thoughts. Or what if instead you can be notified anytime anything goes even remotely wrong in your software application, so you can be constantly reminded of what a raging failure you are? I guess we can do that. So obviously it is not very conventional to use Discord as an error monitoring platform inside of your software application, but I think that for me and my use case in this current scenario, it does make a lot of sense. So I kind of just want to talk about why I chose to do this, how it fits in my current use case, and what some alternative options are if you want to do things that are a bit more robust and practical. But anyways, I'm Gino and I build SaaS applications, and in those SaaS applications, there are not that many users, and because of that, there are also not that many errors, hopefully, for the most part. However, when there are errors, I definitely want to know about them, and I would like to be able to action off them in real time. And so that goes into my requirements for what an error monitoring platform should have. It should have, one, a way for me to action on something in real time, and two, be provided notifications on these errors. And Discord can do both of those things. And to get into my main specific use case at this current point in time, I am building a SaaS application called Dev Dispatch, which is a real-time job board for US-based remote software engineers. Just a quick plug, if you have any interest in this very, very specific product, there is a link over to a waitlist down in the description. It will be launching this month in July of 2025. So this real-time job board is essentially a giant scraper. So I have about 100 companies that are on this scraper right now. And the thing with scraping is it is inherently error prone. All it takes is for one HTML change on the website to completely throw off your scraper. Maybe now it can't click a button that it needs to. Maybe the tag that you were using to grab some data is no longer there. And like I said, now it just completely doesn't work and you're not getting any data. Now, ideally, these things won't be happening too often, but they definitely will happen. And it's something that I have to take into account as I'm building this. And I need to know right away when these changes do happen. And so that's where Discord comes in. So instead of just quietly throwing an error that I might be able to pick up in like a CloudWatch log in AWS, I'm instead just sending a notification over to a Discord server. And I have notifications on my phone. I'm using Discord most days, and I'm going to see this notification right away. And in that notification, I just have two pertinent pieces of information. First is the name of the company where something is happening, something is not pulling data correctly. And the second is the actual error from Puppeteer, which is my scraping library. Sometimes this is like a helpful, robust error, but sometimes I am going to have to go in and see what's going on behind the scenes. And so yeah, I just see these notifications come in and I can fix them right away, because the main draw of this application is being able to see these jobs in near real time before they're even hitting LinkedIn or Indeed. And obviously if something's broken, if we can't pull data, we can't pull these job listings, that main selling point, that main driver of this application is no longer working and it needs to be fixed. And before, I was talking about kind of like my wish lists for what an error monitoring platform should have in my use case. So like I said, it needs to be real time where I can get these notifications right away, and I need to actually be getting a notification on my phone or on my computer somehow. But there really is a third one, which is ease of use and setup. And setting up these Discord notifications to be sent from inside my application was insanely easy. Like, it literally took 5 minutes. All you have to do is set up a new server, and in a channel you can set up a webhook, and then inside of your application, wherever you want to send these notifications, all you have to do is send an HTTP request to that webhook URL with the message that you are trying to send. Like I said, this took 5 minutes to set up. I'm sure there are some limitations. I did not read the documentation on how many messages I would be able to send per minute, but I know that for my use case, these messages will be pretty far and few between. Honestly, if I end up in a place where I'm getting more than one a week, I kind of need to reassess how I'm doing my scraper. So if you need to be sending hundreds, thousands of messages every single day, I probably would not use Discord. But like I said, for these one-off errors, I think this is a great way to be notified and take action on them. So finally, I just want to talk about another couple of use cases that I have for these notifications, some improvements that can be made upon them, and then also some alternatives just in case you don't want to go down this route and use something more sustainable, more practical. So starting off, a couple more use cases that I have are, one, since this is a subscription-based application using Stripe, essentially what happens when someone cancels their subscription, an event is sent to a Stripe webhook, and then you can listen for those events and do something based off of that. What's kind of awkward though is if somebody cancels before their actual end date, so maybe they're in the middle of a billing cycle and they just canceled, I don't really have a mechanism inside of my application to automatically revoke access when their subscription actually ends. And so because I'm building this by myself and because I want to launch this quickly, it's not worth the effort for me to set up this automated mechanism, when instead I can just send a notification over to this Discord server that says, hey, this customer cancel their subscription, here's the date that they need to have their access revoked, and then I can just remember to go into my database and revoke access from them at the end of their subscription cycle. And I think making sacrifices and trade-offs like these when you're building by yourself in order to have more speed and be able to ship things a bit more quickly is definitely something that I'm comfortable doing, and it's just a tiny little piece of work up front which can be automated later so that I can launch this product even faster. Finally, another way that I plan to take advantage of these Discord notifications is I have an area inside of Dev Dispatch where users are able to request additional companies to be added to this scraper so that their new job postings will appear on the job listings board. And similarly, instead of building an entire admin UI for myself to see these requests come in, when somebody submits a request, I will just be sending a notification over to this Discord server, and it'll have the information that I need, such as the company name, the careers URL that I'll be scraping from, and any other description on why this company needs to be added. And from there, I can just mark that request as pending inside of my database, and the process begins. A nice little quality of life thing that you can do with Discord is set up bots inside of these channels, which would allow you to take various actions based off the notifications that you get. So for example, in this case, if I wanted to, I could set up a bot where one of those notifications comes in. Maybe it has a button where I can click it, and instead of me having to go into my database and mark that request as pending, I could just hit a button that says, oh, this request is being worked on, and then that'll automatically propagate over to my data. But as I mentioned before, I think these are all trade-offs that I have to consider, and is that really worth the time to set up at this current point in time? Absolutely not, but I think down the line it would be a nice quality of life improvement, and just something pretty cool that you can do with these Discord notifications if you want to get a bit more fancy. All right, final thing is, what do you do if you don't want to do something like a Discord notification? Because obviously this is not something that people and real companies are doing in the real world. So some of the alternatives that I've worked with and may or may not make sense if you're building SaaS applications, small applications for yourself, but probably the most popular one is Sentry. This is an error monitoring and collection platform, and honestly it has a ton of other features baked into it, but I know professionally I've used it where we were using this to aggregate error logs into one platform, and so it was nice. The errors would bubble up into like one error if we got that error like 15 times or 20 times, and we could see the frequency of those errors and know which ones we need to tackle and fix those bugs, and in what order. In other contexts, if you're working in an AWS environment, for example, so before I had this Discord notifications set up, I was just logging all of these errors to CloudWatch, and it takes a bit more effort to kind of parse through those, and you can set up notifications in an AWS environment too, based off of logs that are coming into CloudWatch. But doing all of that is again part of these trade-offs that I was talking before, and if I could set up something super easy, sending notifications over to my Discord server in 5 minutes, like that's a no-brainer for me. Alrighty, that'll wrap this one up. Just wanted to take y'all through the process of just setting up Discord notifications for error monitoring inside of a SaaS application. Hope you find it interesting, and maybe it just sparked an idea or two of how you can better monitor your applications and make sure that things are working as you expect them to. Like I said, there is a link down in the description if you are interested in checking out Dev Dispatch, which is a real-time job board for US-based remote software engineers. It launches a bit later this month in July, so if you're interested, join the waitlist, check it out, and I'll let you know when it is ready to enter. Thank you a ton for watching all the way through in this video. If you're into building SaaS and just want to see the behind-the-scenes process of building something, shipping it, getting users, marketing, all that fun stuff, definitely subscribe. I'll have a ton more videos for you coming up shortly. Thank you again for watching. I hope you have a great rest of the day, and I'll see you in the next one.